Okay. So first of all, guys, thanks for having me. My name is Gerry. I'm in my late 50s at this stage. So about 40 years an adult, or at least nominally an adult. And I don't know. I'm looking at what's happening in Ireland and the world the last 3-4 years. And like a lot of people, I just think we've gone wrong somewhere. I would have thought maybe 5 years ago or more, most people were relatively optimistic about the world and where it was going. And yet that seems to have changed fundamentally. And I just thought, I'm looking at all these other guys making podcasts and whatever. You know what? I think I'll do this. I think I'll put 40 years of adult life experience and do one of these, because otherwise I'd have to do a lot of therapy and pay a lot of money. So, yeah. But I don't know. I'm for the first time, I think, pretty much in my adult life, I'm pretty pessimistic about modern Ireland and where it's going. And you can extend that to much of the rest of the world. And I also know that I'm not the only person who feels like that. That seems to be the way a lot of people, certainly in and around my age group, would feel.
Yeah, discussion needs to be had, certainly. I could be your unqualified therapist for the day.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. So if you want to ask me any questions or whatever, otherwise there's a few little points I'd be happy to raise.
Yeah, sure. Let's fire off with a question. What part of Ireland shaped you most, do you think, growing up?
Probably where I grew up, Walkinstown, south side of Dublin, southwest Dublin. I suppose working class, you'd say. Small, not one of the huge estates, not nearby was Crumlin and Drimnagh, which were much bigger. Kind of everyone knew everyone else. Most people had 5, 6, 7 kids. And it just feels like a different world. I remember finishing school, the last Leaving Cert exam, and then just walking out onto the road. I think if you've ever seen the film The Shawshank Redemption,
yeah,
you remember near the end they let the old guy out.
Oh yeah,
and he hasn't got a clue because he spent 50 years in prison. Now what the hell am I? And everybody now has a car in the world. It felt a bit like that when I did, because I had no idea what I was going to do next. Unemployment swung between 20 and 25%. A whole generation of people left the country. It really was a different Ireland. Certainly economically, it was much, much weaker. And yet, we've made amazing advances in terms of economics, but we also seem to be losing something.
A lot of stuff got left behind.
Yeah, and I just think particularly, I saw the 90s come and I saw the boom come. I saw people starting to come in, first of all, from all around the EU and then from all around the world. I thought it was brilliant. People coming in, just like the Irish had done for decades and generations, into a country that was now economically strong. People that wanted to work hard and give themselves or give their kids a better shot at life. I thought it was brilliant. And yet, somewhere, I think, around about the pandemic, I think the pandemic might have been the start. I just think we've lost our way somewhere along the line. And I don't feel like Ireland is as democratic as it used to be. I look at the politicians now and I'm not really sure they're working anymore for the agenda of the ordinary people. I think they're working for an outside agenda, which we never discussed and we've never
had that before.
No. And I've been working as a tour guide now for about a decade and a half, and for 8 or 10 years I got a lot of questions about how did Ireland turn itself around from a country of high unemployment and high emigration to such a vibrant, strong economy, modern economy with people coming in from around the world and some Irish people coming back as well. And I would always say, it was sensible and it was pragmatic and it was middle of the road. And there was no extremes and there was no great ideology. It was, look, if something works, we'll keep doing it. If something doesn't work, we'll admit it and fix it. I don't see that anymore.
It's not like that anymore. No.
No.
Yeah, the chain needs oil. Would you say?
Yeah, or even I mean, I tell you, I mean, from a personal point of view, I've always voted. I've always believed in voting. People died for the right to vote in this country. There are people around the world that don't live in democracies. I've really, really struggled to vote the last 4 or 5 years. The last few elections, national, European. I've gone down to the polling station and I've gone. None of these people really represent me anymore.
Yeah.
I would class myself as an ordinary working person. In the business I do, some years are better than others, but I make enough money to get by, to keep my head above water. I finished paying off the mortgage 3 years ago. I'm relatively comfortable. I only have to worry about myself. So it's not a big issue for me in terms of, things like the cost of living than it is for people with 2 and 3 kids to feed, or kids going through school, or particularly you. I don't have to worry about a lot of that. And a lot of people my age are like that. If you've the family raised, if you had a family and the mortgage paid off, you are relatively comfortable in modern Ireland. That's not the issue. The issue is I look at a ballot paper and I go, none of these people represent me.
Yeah, it's just giving people power. You don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Everything now in politics has become about identities and ideologies, and I just think an awful lot of really important stuff isn't a politics. The old
wishy-washy.
Yeah. The Romans 2,000 years ago used to talk about bread and circuses.
Yeah.
Feed the people and give them entertainment, and they'll be happy.
But that's the show that you're on the way out to distract the people, isn't it?
Yeah, but to me, the real issues are not covered. And the real issues, I mean, there's major, fundamental, basic issues in this country which aren't being covered. And they haven't been covered for years, even decades.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how that continues. The number one issue in modern Ireland is that the population's going up.
Yeah.
Now, that's fantastic, because we've had population either decline or stagnation for a century and a half. It's fantastic that the population's going up. It's fantastic that we have such a strong economy that people want to come in here from all over the world.
Yeah, but we've got to keep up with it.
But we've got a housing crisis. Yeah. We've got a power crisis.
Yeah.
Which maybe people don't know. We got a water crisis.
Yeah.
Like, when the population goes up, you need to build more houses and apartments.
Yeah.
You need to build more power stations. There's an estate in Portlaoise at the moment. I think there's around, I can't remember the number of houses, 80 or 90. I think the houses are ready for over a year, but you can't move in. There's no electricity.
Yeah.
This is
crazy stuff.
This is really basic. It doesn't get any more basic than this. There's a crisis every single September when the kids go back to school, because there aren't enough school places.
Yeah.
And there aren't enough special needs assistance for kids with special needs. There aren't enough hospital beds. There aren't enough hospitals, but there aren't enough hospital. This is really basic. So the population has effectively gone up 50% in the last 30 years. 30 years is a fairly long amount of time.
For context, I was born in 2003.
Right.
Grew up in Brunswick Street there.
Yeah.
My formative years then moved in 2012, I think.
Right.
To the leafy South Dublin.
Right.
So I've seen two different sides of the city as well.
Yeah.
But you'd have a lot more insight, knowledge.
Well, I mean, all I have is hopefully experience.
Yeah.
I will give you the good news. If you were born in Ireland since 2000, you have a 50% chance of living to be 100.
Really? I plan on it.
Stick that on your pipe and smoke it, yeah. So this is the new world that we're living in.
Yeah.
We have added a generation to our life expectancy since the Second World War.
Yeah.
Where's the planning gone? Because in the bad old 1980s, when unemployment was in the 20%,
there was enough houses.
Yeah. Somebody somewhere made sure enough houses were built.
And how come now, when unemployment's between 3 and 4%, and we've all the money in the world now, we don't have enough?
Well, this is now you're getting close to something that, to be honest, drives me nuts. And I'm not a parent, but I was a youth and community worker for again about a decade and a half before I moved into guiding. There is now another generation of young people leaving Ireland.
Yeah.
Except it's got nothing to do with the economy. It's got something to do with it's got everything to do with the fact that they see no prospect of ever buying or owning a house.
Yeah.
especially if they live in and around the Dublin area.
Yeah, good luck.
Why has that happened?
Yeah.
Why is nobody accountable for that? It doesn't get any more basic than that. Please build enough houses. And we haven't done that. We now have a census every 5 years. The whole idea of a census is to give a bunch of number crunchers all the facts and figures to go away and plan. We'll have to put a hospital there. They'll need a new school. They'll need a housing estate, whatever. That area will need a reservoir. None of that seems to be happening. And nobody seems to put their hand up and say, okay, there's a problem. Let's get that sorted. The system isn't working. And it's not working over something as fundamental as the fact that the population is going up. The very fact that the population is going up and has been going up for 30 years is a sign that our economy is now very strong and trades all over the world. We sell the world things that the world wants to buy. Really basic stuff like food. We grow enough food to feed about 10 times our own population. So we export it. But surely someone somewhere in all these experts must have realised that when the population starts going up, you're going to have to build more houses. This is what astonishes me. I do my job. I'm a tour guide. You know, I take a group of people from A to B, sometimes for a day, sometimes for a week. I'll find out where the group are from. I'll find out what their level of English is about. I'll find out what they might like me to talk about, and I'll do some preparation. It seems to me like in Ireland, we've had about 30 years of people go, woohoo, look, the population's going up. But that's fantastic, isn't it? That's great. And that seems to be about it. Because that to me, that's the number one issue in modern Ireland. And I can't believe it's as bad as it is, and I can't believe it's gone on as long as it is. And the other thing for me personally is I look at all these people in politics and I think none of them represents me or people like me. I class myself as a working taxpayer. I get up most mornings and I do a job. And I pays my taxes and I pays my social insurance, and nobody gives a damn about me. And to be fair, it's not just in Ireland. It's pretty much all over the Western world. The least important people now in many Western societies are the people that get up and do a day's work every day.
What they're meant to do,
We've been completely forgotten about. It's like we don't matter anymore. And now it's all about minority groups and identity groups and all the rest of it. I want to tell you a quick story. About 10 years ago when we had the referendum, I think it was 2016, on same-sex marriage. I voted yes. Okay? Move with the times. You don't choose your sexuality. We've had enough of discrimination against people. Pretty well everyone in every family has somebody or knows somebody who is gay, stroke lesbian. And the country voted. I think the result in that one was something like 32%. And I went, yeah, that's good. 2 days later in the newspaper, I read a letter from somebody who said, most of the people who voted no are older males who never went to college. And I found that comment disgusting because I never went to college.
So they were just assuming that.
Well, it almost implied that people like me, if I call myself older, at late 50s, shouldn't be allowed to vote. I never went to college.
Ridiculous.
And yet, in many ways, it was a very appropriate comment because that's kind of what I see in the world now. I see people who are classed as experts. And maybe they are in one subject, but they don't seem to have a broad range of knowledge of and experience, and that's definitely something I see in the modern world.
That's true.
I think it's become very one-dimensional. There's a huge amount of groupthink, where everybody agrees with everyone else. I don't understand that. I love, from my experience in youth work, I love the outsider or the person who throws in a complete curveball, or we're just about to go off for lunch and everyone's happy and somebody puts their hand up and says, but what about? Because they're actually the real... I think that's dying in modern society. I think we're surrounded by all these experts.
That's interesting to think about.
And I think there's a huge amount of groupthink. On Saturday morning, last weekend, One Irish newspaper had 7 people, sports writers, who predicted the All-Ireland final, and every one of them said Cork would win.
Yeah.
I have a friend in the UK who was at one of the semi-finals.
They were the favourites.
They were fairly strong favourites.
Yeah.
And I had a friend in the UK who went to one of the semi-finals, and I sent him a text message, and I said, I've fancied since the start of the year Tipperary to
Premier
win.
County.
And they did.
Yeah. Did you watch the match?
You're damn right I did.
Where did Cork go in the second half? Did they come out of the change room?
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
I think their psychology was all wrong. I
Yeah.
think psychology is 90% of sport.
100%, yeah.
I think Cork were terrified of losing. They have now lost 5 All-Irelands in a row that
Yeah.
they've been in. And I also think they needed to go up a gear, and they didn't.
They didn't.
They'd no extra gear. Tipperary just came out absolutely driven,
Nail on the
and
coffin, yeah.
Cork had no plan B. Plan A was not working.
Yeah.
They should have realised that 5-10 minutes in to the second, and it didn't. It was extraordinary. I'm 50 years watching All-Ireland finals. The very first one I remember was 1975. I've never
Kerry
seen
Dublin.
in
Or the football. Or the
in the
hurling.
hurling.
Sorry,
I've always been more into the hurling. I
You
think
were
because
saying,
my
yeah.
mother was from Kilkenny. I've 50 years watching. I've 3-14 to 2 points is absolutely extraordinary
Yeah, I know.
in
yeah.
a game. To score 2 points in a
In a
hurling
half.
match, half a hurling
In a
match,
final, like,
is
yeah.
extraordinary.
Speaking of geography, Cork tip. If you were to, have you ever thought about leaving the country? And
Every
where would
Irish
you-
person has thought about leaving the country. Absolutely every. I've probably put that behind me now.
Okay.
I'm not going to leave to retire.
Right.
I think what I might do in the work I do now, tour guiding, is I could probably comfortably work in Ireland for about 7-8 months a year,
Yeah.
and then spend the winter months. I struggle with the winter months here, especially January.
Where would you go, in Europe somewhere? Or?
Somewhere down on the Med. The Med is beautiful.
oh,
it's
true.
warm rather than hot.
Yes.
I'm not into heat. It's beautiful.
Gorgeous.
But yeah, I certainly had those thoughts. Nearly all my generation had those thoughts in the 80s and into the 90s. Somewhere about the mid to late 90s, Ireland had changed, and now the economy was kicking off and people were getting good, well-paid jobs. And I suppose it's around there I began to leave those thoughts behind. But certainly in the 80s, I'll tell you a famous story. 1983, the year I did the Leaving Cert, Dublin won their first All-Ireland minor, sorry, not All-Ireland, Leinster minor title for about 20-25 years.
Really?
Yeah.
83?
Featuring a guy called Niall Quinn, who was a pretty decent hurler. So they won the Leinster final, I think, in May. And the semi-final, I think, was against Galway in August, the old GAA calendar.
Yeah.
Between May and August, of the Dublin panel of 30 players, 23 left the country.
Are you serious?
Now, that's Dublin. That's the capital city.
Crazy.
That's what the 1980s was like.
Man.
Imagine losing basically 75% of your panel
Yeah.
in 3 months because they saw no prospects.
Yeah.
But for me personally, yeah, I thought about maybe I had relatives in Canada. I thought about maybe going. I probably was just too dull and unimaginative to take the risk. I'm kind of glad I didn't now.
It seems
But-
to panned out nice.
Yeah, I think everybody had, but I think it's a real damn shame, and I actually think it's a disgrace that this generation is leaving school and college to go into an economic environment that I couldn't have dreamed of when I was that age 40 years ago,
Yeah.
and yet are thinking, I'll have to leave the country.
Mad.
I'll never be able to buy a house. That I think that is, by a country mile, I think that's the number one issue in Ireland.
Yeah.
And I think it should be given the same priority as COVID was given for 2 years.
Yeah.
Nothing else matters. We're going to fix this.
Yeah.
If we have to import 100,000 building workers from all
Worth
over
it.
the
It's
world,
worth the investment.
that is what we will do. We will catch up with the numbers. But I don't think our government has a clue. They announced a new National Development Plan a couple of days ago. I don't think our government has a clue what the population of the country is going to be.
'Cause
So
they're-
therefore, how
they're
can
out
you
of touch.
plan?
Is it because their kids aren't going to be worried?
I
about
don't think it
something?
affects them. No,
I don't think
it doesn't
does at
affect.
all, no.
If you're a civil servant, stroke politician, you have a job for life. or certainly you have a pension that's the envy of most people. I'm not sure these. That's another thing that
There's
I
an
think.
empathy problem.
Brilliant. I was just going to say that. I think there's a real empathy problem in Ireland. I think
Yeah.
permanent, comfortably off, very well paid, job for life, Monday to Friday, civil servants retiring at 60. I don't think they can empathise with what it's like for the ordinary Joe and Mary out there. I really don't.
Yeah.